Welcome to Greenshoe Radio, brought to you by Greenshoe Media Group. I'm your host, Mark Bunting. Our guest today is Frank Holmes, Interim CEO and Executive Chairman of HIVE Blockchain Technologies, trading under the ticker symbol HIVE on the TSX Venture. HIVE also trades over the counter in the US and on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Frank is also the CEO and CIO of US Global Investors. That trades on the Nasdaq under the ticker symbol GROW. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Mark.
Now, let's dive straight in here. HIVE mines both Ethereum and Bitcoin, but primarily Ethereum. And Ethereum, as we know, has outperformed Bitcoin for about a year now. Now, you've said Ethereum is being driven by five main factors, including one main factor, decentralized finance, or DeFi as it's known. So can you explain the importance of DeFi and what's being described as this warp speed growth on the Ethereum blockchain platform in terms of the dollar amount, in terms of transactions, and the sheer volume as well?
Well, Bitcoin is really the financial gold. It comes with digital money, the Bitcoin sort of concept. And when we look at Ethereum, it's a smart contract. And that means you can embed other information in that contract. It trades, the validation process is much faster. You don't wait every 10 minutes, you wait only seconds that you get the opportunity to validate a transaction. And it's a sort of seems to have grown a much bigger ecosystem. So let's say for simplicity, there's 10,000 of these nodes around the world analyzing every trade on the blockchain for Bitcoin. When you go into Ethereum, one has to sort of conceptualize it's 3 times that, it's 30,000. And with that comes when Apple came up with their phone, and you had all these kids making apps for it. And that was a big booming business. And you could use their apps or you could buy anyone's apps, and it became a cottage industry. Well, that's what's happening with Ethereum. So the DeFi, decentralized finance, is basically lowers the cost of a lot of having agents and brokers, et cetera. And really got to think of convertible bond funds, but really the convertibility is only within Ethereum space. And you get a yield on that. Securities lending, but the security is not a stock, it is a cryptocurrency because someone else has got another side of it. And you're seeing it just grow, and it's going to be, reminds me of back in 1995, it was AOL and Netscape, and then they're gone basically, and then it was Ask Jeeves, and he's gone, and it was Yahoo, and that's basically rolled up now into AOL for private equity, and Google dominates. So in this race, we don't know who's going to dominate the DeFi because you're very early. But we do know that as DeFi grows and aggregates other, and the use of Ethereum, because they need that as the protocol, is huge demand for us. We get some days 50%. I'm talking about $100,000 a day bonuses coming in from the growth of that. The other part, which is really important institutionally, is when JP Morgan used to trash talk the industry all through 2017 and 18, the bear market. 19, they stopped because they came up with their own stable coin. A stable coin is like a money market fund, but it's on the protocol of Ethereum. So JP Morgan all of a sudden talks positively about crypto. In fact, they're letting their high net worth customers buy it. So you're seeing a big evolution, and their stable coin has grown. All these US dollar denominated stable coins are tethers, I like to call them, but more important is that they use Ethereum, and we can see that big demand. So stable coin growth, and now, and then you'll have a DeFi, but the big hot item this year has been NFTs.
Right.
And yesterday I was listening to a presentation for a young kid from Queen's University that wrote a program for music and how you could digitize your music, and therefore you could get a reward on your music. So it's evolving very quickly, but we're early innings, Mark. We're like 95, and so it's a real true race to see who's going to be out there. I've always said I loved Ethereum. We were the first crypto company, as you know, to go public in the world, and then other people followed us. most of them went Bitcoin. We were first in Ethereum, and then we expanded that footprint in Sweden. And I'll share with you, it's made us a lot of money. We still are the most profitable of all these crypto companies. Now, we see that ASICs, a lot of ASIC chips have been bought to mine later this year, that other people are supposedly going to grow bigger than us, but we'll see, because that's a big issue. Can you get your equipment on time? I've heard today good news that Bitmain's equipment came on time for people. I know that some other people canceled. I know my own personal experience in this space has been difficulties upgrading from 4 gigabyte memory cards to mine Ethereum to 8. And the process of getting those coins, getting those new chips back to be profitable. So when they're no longer profitable, I immediately started mining Ethereum Classic. And Ethereum Classic, when I did it at $20, I was making $7. Yeah, $7 on 20. Nice trade. And it went to 150. What a windfall. Now, the difficulty, all of a sudden, everyone starts mining Ethereum Classic. Every kid's on their computer, flips over with their gaming GPUs to try to start to mine it. And it's interesting. It went up 70%, but at 150, my cost, I got all my money back switching that out. So that's what we're seeing, that the Ethereum Classic is going to move with Ethereum, but Ethereum is really important for the next big thing, as it is really the backbone for the Internet of Things in the crypto blockchain world.
Okay, let's stick with DeFi here, Frank. And you covered a lot of ground there. We'll get back to some of those points that you made. But HIVE struck a share swap with a company called DeFi, which trades on the NEO, as you know, in Canada. The deal was about $25 million. It gives HIVE about 5% of DeFi's shares. So what was the thinking behind that deal? And is HIVE content with that exposure to decentralized finance along with your Ethereum exposure, or are you looking to gain more ground and a bigger footprint in DeFi?
We made some other investments too. We did invest in Token, that's gone public through the RTO with Andrew Kegel. And Token's basically nothing but a staking model, but it's a high revenue. It's going to be like a REIT, and it's a very sweet model what he's built. So we're principal, early investors in Token. And we've made other investments in anyone in this space. With DeFi, they want to be able to tap into the following we have. We considered about dividending those shares out later this year to all the HIVE shareholders, where the ratio be 10 to 1 for every share. And the shareholders that get to see the next leg of growth is in DeFi. It's a company that has revenue. It's a company that's growing its line. They have first mover advantage, I think, in Sweden. Sweden was the first to give you like an ETN or ETF that was allowing you to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and that business exploded. Then it was bought out. So I think they have that first mover advantage, and they're looking for other opportunities. And I highly recommend you do an interview with people like that, because they're very early on the next big wave, but they're going to need our shovels. They're going to need our Ethereum. And so it was a natural fit. And the co-founder of HIVE Blockchain, Olivier, he was also the co-founder of DeFi. So he's been focused more on that. He's left us as a board. He still stays advisor, but really that's just what he's running. So we said, you know what, let's do a share swap. We give you a bigger balance sheet. And immediately, other investment bankers started calling them to do additional financing. They didn't need it at this stage, but it's just part of that. First mover advantage? How fast can you go in this technology?
Right. Now let's get to mining. You touched on it there, and the power consumption aspect of that. So HIVE operates in Canada. You just struck a power deal in New Brunswick to double your power capacity to 100 megawatts. You're in Iceland. You're in Sweden. Using low-cost renewable power, primarily hydroelectric. Now, we've heard all the complaints about Bitcoin's energy footprint. So do you think because of HIVE's business model, it can escape that kind of criticism, or is HIVE doing something now and planning more in the future to reduce its carbon footprint?
Well, I think that the whole data point by the green movement was greatly exaggerated. Talk about misleading data. That they're not representing 10% of all the energy in the world, and then, oh no, it's less than that now. It's really confused a lot of people. First of all, it's 30 basis points. If you looked at all the consumption of electricity, 30 basis points of the world. Most of it is stranded electricity, like the huge facility in Mesima, New York State, is an old Alcan facility, and the town has 30% unemployment. So it's ideal to be in a location like that. Bowdoin, where we are, is basically an old military NATO site that's shut down, and they've gladly opened up anything for data centers because they have huge infrastructure built, and that's where Facebook and Google are. And so I look at that whole story, and it's a real great misguidance to the public. But what is true about the concern one would have is that most of the coal energy comes out of China and comes out of Kazakhstan. So they're not, your favorite nation states when it comes to crypto mining. Now, the Chinese have been very much attacking the industry as a whole, but there's got to be some party-related relationship, because you can see every time there's a shutdown, their hashing difficulty collapses. And so I think it's really remarkable. But what's important for your listeners is the big sea change. The big sea change is this. The new pools for crypto mining, they're coming to North America. Better accounting, better fee transparency. It's moving here. The major crypto mining growth is here. It's in the US, it's in Canada, and it's in Scandinavia. It's not in China. It's not in Russia. What you do see is our gold is going over there. So you see the Chinese are continuing to consume gold to legitimize their currency and give that support. And last month we saw also big trading, but the Bitcoin, I think, is eventually just going to show up, and it's going to be dominated here in North America. Now, it's also very important that there's lots of use in Africa and Latin America, and in particular where there's very horrific regimes in Africa, and the same thing in Venezuela. The only way to get money out, you can't take out the gold, they control your credit card, they want you to take dollars, so you end up getting your Bitcoins. And when you land in Orlando or Miami, it's the greatest concentration of ATM machines to give you Bitcoins. So you're seeing this transfer, and the governor of Florida is very pro digital money and very pro crypto. And the mayor of Miami is hosting in June 2 big mining conferences, crypto mining events, and he's very pro this whole industry. So I think that's fascinating.
I've heard that about the mayor of Miami for sure. Now, in terms of HIVE's numbers, the most recent report had revenue surging 175% pretty well from the year before, net income up about 5 times, gross margins around 78%, and those look pretty stellar to me. But you're saying that the next results, which I'm guessing is early June around then, will be spectacular, to use your words. So can you give us a little flavor of what the investors could expect?
It's public, what your hashing rate is. And so you can figure out your hashing power and the price is mining and the difficulty or your profit margins. So there are some sites that calculate and do that. And it's pretty easy to see that we made more in February than we did the previous quarter. I mean, if people that have public disclosure documents, it's easy to see. So that's a pretty strong statement. And I would share with you that most recent public statement, we solved problems we had in Norway, which I inherited, cleaned it up. That's all great. Lowered the debt level, so there's no debt there. So I'm happy about that. But we did say we have over $100 million in totaling in Ethereum and Bitcoin. And we have cash over 35 million, pushing 40 million now. So we're in a very liquid position, the strongest liquidity we've ever had from internal appreciation. So I think from that, and if you do look at the numbers today, we're doing more than 400,000 in revenue. It's higher than that a day. So I would say our run rate's probably right now 160, 170 million. When we get our other not Bitmain, but other ASIC chips coming on stream, then we should get that up to 300 million. And the model suggests still you'll make over $200 million.
Right, you've said that. So 300 million, and you're talking about annual, right? Annual revenue.
Yeah, annual run rate.
So $200 million in cash flow. You've mentioned that. You've also said, though, that That a lot of that depends on the equipment you've ordered from Asia and whether it arrives on time. We know about the supply constraints specifically with semiconductors right now. So what's your confidence level in terms of that equipment arriving on time and achieving those kinds of numbers you're talking about?
Well, the only, the difficulties we've had is when we're sending old frames over there to get upgraded from 4 to 8 gigabyte and send them back to us. That's had tremendous delays and disappointments. But the equipment we've ordered that's not Bitmain has come on time. So that's okay. Bitmain delayed us. Other people telling me this morning that they've got their equipment. They were supposed to come in last month. I'm happy for the industry that equipment came in. But I think that, you're just going to have to deal with it. And your cost for shipping has gone up dramatically. Cargo ships, dry ships are making just a ton of money. They've got tremendous pricing power, along with cargo flights, cargo airplanes. It's really a boom business. And the models all suggested, looking at my other mutual funds, Eastern Europe and China region and global resources, we're in a secular bull market for cargo shipping, global cargo shipping. Trains and trucks are booming in America. Canada still hasn't come out of the winter freeze yet due to COVID, but when it comes out, it'll rip. There's a lack of supply. We saw in like Medellin in Colombia makes a lot of blue jeans, Guess jeans for Italy, for the US, etc. They've totally shut down. People want new jeans. That backup. Friends of mine were in Vegas last week and they said, there's no Rolex watches. There's nothing. They can show you on a screen to buy, but you're not going to get it. Friends of mine trying to get new refrigerators told me it took 5 months to get them. So I don't think it's just crypto. I think it's everything. The pent-up demand is just massive.
Let's talk about HIVE as an investment. You've said that it can be proxy exposure for older investors to crypto who are maybe not comfortable about having a digital wallet and direct exposure to crypto. Now, we've seen some Bitcoin and Ether ETFs launched in Canada. We're likely going to see some in the US soon because a lot of companies, as you know, have filed to list these types of ETFs. So do you see those ETFs as competition for HIVE? And so some investors might say, well, I'll just buy that ETF to get exposure to Bitcoin or an Ether, and I don't need to be in HIVE. Is that competition or not really? Or is it just the more the merrier?
No, I think it just, it takes more supply out. Demand is faster than supply. Metcalfe's law says that if you limit supply and more people believe and trust that product, then prices will go up exponentially. It's just the fact of what it is. It creates a scarcity phenomenon. I've done a short video on it at HIVE's website. If you go to HIVE Blockchain on YouTube, and you can watch these 2-minute clips on the difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin, what's driving Ethereum, and Metcalfe's law to explain this price action. It's so easy to see what happened with Bitcoin. It's capped at 21 million coins. When they first came out with this, Satoshi created this incredible piece of art. I look at it to seduce you to go and mine when it was $1. You got 50 new Bitcoins. And then 4 years later, you got half of that 25. And then you went to 12.5. And now we're at 6.25. In 3 years, it's going to go down to 3.125. So as more people believe, then all of a sudden you get this growth. And I try to tell people, Mark, my age, because they find it so difficult, especially it's just sad watching Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. I know that they blew out all their airlines a year ago, and I had 25,000 millennials just from Robinhood, and they doubled their money. So I think they missed Bitcoin, because the best explanation I can share with your listeners is that in 1947, De Beers controlled the diamond market. They immediately, that cartel stopped supply. And they went out with marketing and started to say, this tangible stone represents something intangible called love. And as more men and women, young people believe that, coming after World War II and getting married, and the baby boom going on, all of a sudden that $100 stone went to $1,000 and went to 10,000 a stone. So as long as you limit the supply and more people trust, the operative word is trust. So they trust this diamond represents something emotional. Now we come along with digital. The millennials have all been playing video gaming, and if they're good at it, they've been rewarded in digital money in that game, and they get to upgrade, so they're used to it. So it's easier for them to adapt and say yes. And as it's capped at 21 million coins and more people believe, it's growing exponential. And that's really what's driving it. Trust, belief. And there's a thesis with $17 trillion between China, EU, and America spending to fight the invisible war of COVID. It means that these coins trade much higher.
Two things there on your points. I agree with you. I have huge respect, obviously, for Mr. Munger and Mr. Buffett, but they really did sound tone deaf at their recent meeting talking about cryptocurrency. And when you mentioned Metcalfe's law, who knew that the former running back with the St. Louis Cardinals, Terry Metcalfe, was that brilliant and that smart?
It's the wrong Metcalfe. But
yeah, I know.
What's important is that it's prevailing. And people are starting to grasp the concept. It's the best one to explain mobile phones and the rapid growth. We had BlackBerry, had this explosive growth when they had first mover advantage of the technology, and that's what happens. They went to almost a $40 billion market cap. So our vision at Hive is to buy all these equipment. We're so thrilled, Mark. We closed the deal in New Brunswick. I got great people on the team. Exciting. I've got strong technical people. We're doing about $10 million of revenue per employee. I hope to expand that. So I'm going to look just like a royalty company. We filed our 40F to get listed on Nasdaq. Hopefully then that can get fast tracked this quarter. So we're on all cylinders, blow and go.
Yeah, that leads nicely into my next question. So you've talked about the liquidity of Hive, very liquid in Canada primarily. 5.3 million is the average daily volume. Then you look at one of your competitors, Riot Blockchain, 27 million daily on the Nasdaq, and also there's a story on the Nasdaq website recently about Hive, calling it a compelling under the radar crypto play. So how would you say investors generally perceive Hive, and what would a Nasdaq listing mean for awareness and fund flows into the stock? And do you think it's under the radar, especially in the US?
So two things, I clearly see the US as a very important part, but there's many funds that can't buy unless it is NASDAQ. It's just, or New York Stock Exchange. It's in their charter. And brokers like Robinhood, they don't trade in the OTC market here. And so I think it goes through a re-rating. We have a huge following. We've delivered on all the goods, Mark. As I said, the end of December quarter, we'll see at the end of March, we're going to be 1, 2, or the highest profit margin company. And so I'm thrilled about that. And I think we will go through a re-rating. I know for my ETFs, Jets used to trade at 40,000 shares a day, and now it's 8 million. And we know that a couple of weeks ago on a Friday, Hive was accumulated by a U.S. client, and Canadians kept selling and shorting and shorting. And they said, okay, in the last 10 minutes, buy 1 million shares, clean up the order. And 5 million shares traded in 10 minutes with short covering. So it appears that the shorting is coming out of Canada, and it's a U.S. accumulation. And I think that the audience is just so much bigger when you get down here. When you look at the demographic studies, it's 10 to 1, 10 times the population, 10 times, say, more risk capital. But really the psychology of Americans is very different than Canadians. Being a Canadian, living here for 30 years and look at the data, the banks control the brokerage business and saving and investing in Canada. They got 80% of the market share. And they're sort of risk adverse. And so now you're seeing the speculative capital is really morphed in Canada. I would say it's almost 30 to 1. It's that ratio. It's not 10 to 1 more money. It's 30 to 1 because every American that speculates invests, they all want to be the next Elon Musk. They want to be the Steve Jobs. They want to be someone that's really created something that's mind-blowing and changed the world. And make a lot of money with it and enjoy life. That's very American. And so that number is much bigger in percentage to Canada.
Last question for you. You touched on it a bit. So Hive has about, and correct me if these numbers are a bit off, 110 million US or so in crypto. You said about 35 million in cash. So what developments, what milestones can investors look forward to in Hive the next couple of quarters?
Oh, very exciting. When we get that U.S. listing, we expect to have really significant GPU strategy to announce hopefully the end of this quarter. We want to make sure everything's really got our arms around it. But in Canada, we're thrilled. We're thrilled about New Brunswick. It's 50 megawatts right now, producing 30. We're building a new a part of a campus, and I hope to go to 70 megawatts there. And then other people are knocking on our doors saying, well, we think we have 50. So we have the potential in that province to be over 100 megawatts. The real estate that we have in Lachute, the owner of the real estate now is the biggest pool manufacturer and company in Quebec. And they believe that it's going to become the next Markham of Toronto is going to be Lachute. So they want to take a building with 200,000 square feet right beside us and take the heat from our machines and recycle it so that it has a great ecosystem. It's very exciting what we're looking at in Lachute. We're doing this in building out in that strategy in Bowden. So I'm very excited with lots of positive news. We're going to announce every time we get our new machines hooked up and producing more coins. And our goal is also stay lean and fit and be able to pivot quickly.
Thanks for your time, Frank. Great stuff.
Happy investing.
All right. You've been listening to Greenshoe Radio, brought to you by Greenshoe Media Group. Our guest was Frank Holmes, Interim CEO and Executive Chairman of HIVE Blockchain Technologies, trading under the ticker symbol HIVE on the TSX Venture. HIVE also trades over the counter in the US and on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Take care.